Well, look, I suppose the climate crisis and the climate emergency is the big picture at the moment. The Energy Performance of Buildings Directive is one of about 20 European laws that will tackle climate change. And the EPBD, as we call it, it's directed at buildings to try and decarbonize buildings by reducing their energy use. But there's a very close link between buildings and mobility. And we are saying that if we provide for soft mobility, for walking, for cycling, for e-bikes, then we're starting to tackle the climate problem. Because it's not just about the emissions from the building, it's the emissions from the people who are traveling to and from the building. And quite often people build a building or they renovate a building, they don't even think about transport. Maybe they add a few car parking spaces. But if we tell the developer, you've got to include cycling parking, you've got to include charging for e-bikes, then they'll have to do it. And I think that will really increase the amount of people cycling.
Currently, as it stands, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is that the European Commission has said that there should be, in all residential buildings, there should be, that are over 3 parking spaces, there should be 2 bike parking spaces per dwelling. And then in non-residential buildings, it should be 1-to-1. So that's all fine and good, it's great, but there's an opt-out clause that member states, if they think there isn't enough cycling in that area or around those types of buildings, then they can reduce the number of bike parking spaces. So we'd like some stakeholders to be involved. Member states would have to explain why they can't have the required number of bike parking spaces. And then also to compensate in other areas. So if you can't have bike parking spaces at the required number in the areas outside of the city, then you should compensate for those inside in the city or in other types of buildings. We would also like to include e-bike charging for the electric bicycles because they're very popular now. They're about 25% of the bicycles being sold are e-bikes. And also 10% of the space should be given over to larger bikes like cargo bikes and trikes and these sorts of bikes as well. And more families are using the cargo bikes as well for taking the kids to school, etc. So that space needs to be taken into account as well.
Over the last few years and with the pandemic, we've seen a real increase in cycling in cities around Europe. We're making it safer to get around. We don't have actual figures within the directive, but I would hope that we'll see at least a doubling of cycling in Europe over the next few years. The lawmaking in Europe takes a while, so we're going through the committee in the autumn of 2022 and then get approval from the various European institutions early next year. So I think realistically, it'll be 2024 before you see an impact of the changes that we intend making. It's all around the European Union. 27 member states, that's a population of 450 million people. So really, it will have an impact on a huge amount of people.
So this is below our buildings at the moment. And you can see that in this whole area, there are about 50 car parking spaces. Well, the Commission proposal would say for this sort of building, it should be a 1-to-1 ratio. So 1 car parking space, there would be 1 bike parking space. There are about 50 car parking spaces, and there are about 50 bike parking spaces. It's about okay in here. Just to improve the actual quality of the infrastructure would be better. And also there's no e-bike charging down here. So it's important that we have good locking facilities, more places than this, because you have to put your bike lock through the triangle, the back wheel, and then the infrastructure that you're locking to. Well, the advantages of this sort of parking for residents and for people using the building is it's about behaviour change, because a lot of research has been done that shows that where you have a lot of car parking spaces in buildings, then you have more people owning cars. And if you have more bike parking spaces, you have more people owning a bike and also using the bike as well. So it helps us modal shift, changing from private car use into bicycle use and other sustainable modes. It also means there's less costs for constructing the building, which means the housing can be more affordable as well. It's this underrepresented piece of infrastructure, the site, the bicycle parking. Everyone talks about bicycle lanes, bicycle tracks, and all the things that are on the road, but 95% of the time your bike's actually in a parking space.